It's okay now? Yes, it's okay. Good morning. Thank you very much for coming to the session. We have very important subject to talk about today. I welcome you to the session. It's session 3 of track 3 of water, food, land, and oceans. We will look at very important subjects that it concerns all of us in the region and other regions as well, which is the system innovations in the water sector. Actually, this is very important as we here talk about climate change agenda and linking water and climate together. So we need to see how water innovation can inform adaptation through policy, technical issues, and means of implementation. So we will try to cover all of these during the session. So this is why we have, as you see, esteemed colleagues and panelists. It's very big panel, but for sure we will have great experience and knowledge, and we will learn from them on different issues related to water innovation and linking to climate change. And on these, we will start with our keynote speaker, His Excellency Dr. Abdelaziz Shibani, Deputy Minister of Water Affairs, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Ministry of Environment, Water and Agriculture. And I will try to have two panels to get some discussion in between. We will have some regional experience on water security, Mr. Ziad Khayyat from ESQA. And we will move to country experience. At the country level, we will have experience from Iraq by my colleague Uday Hiddawi will replace Yusuf Muayyad from Ministry of Environment in Iraq. We'll have Mr. Bilal Shikarin, he's Director of Climate Change, Ministry of Environment in Jordan, and Mr. Tariq Hassan, Water and Climate Specialist from UNICEF. So we have a variety of experience here from organizations and the country. And then we will have some interventions, 5 minutes discussion after this panel. We'll move then to the second part of the panel with other colleagues on water management and innovations to look at what opportunities exist for innovation to ensure water security. We will have Mr. Ihab Jinad, Head of Water Resources Department in ACSAD. Also, we will have desalination and water recycling by Dr. Muhammad Sakib Nawaz, postdoctoral research fellow in KAUST. And we will have water use efficiency by Ms. Rania Makawi, Regional Leader, Sustainability, Middle East and Africa. Last but not least, we'll have my colleague, Dr. Anna Katharina Lehmann, Osher, climate economist and contributing expert who is from Germany and ESQA consultant. So without any further ado, it's a long list. I don't want to take more than my 5 minutes. So let me welcome His Excellency. First, I just remind you that you can have PowerPoint or verbal intervention as you want, but we will try to finish in the time set in the agenda. I will try to give you a bit of alert 1 minute before the end of the time. So let me welcome His Excellency Dr. Abdelaziz Shibani. He is Deputy Minister for Water Affairs, Ministry of Environment, Water and Agriculture, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So please, Excellency, have the floor.
Thank you. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سعد الله صباحكم بكل خير. اعذروني بما أن لغة الجلسة والمؤتمر باللغة الإنجليزية فستتحدث باللغة الإنجليزية. I came from a university, so I am used to talking while standing. So this is my convenience. And I thank, first of all, the Ministry of Energy in Saudi Arabia, the UNFCCC for organizing this meeting, and I thank the organizers of this session. Very important session. Water is at the top, of course, for the sectors that are impacted by climate change and that has to adapt to climate change. When we say innovations, innovation does not mean necessarily technologies. Innovation includes policies, include methodologies, and so on. So technology is only one part of innovations in water resources management. The context of water and adaptation to climate change is no longer to be in the planning phase, but should be in the speedy act and assess phase. Extreme weather events, to our sorrow, are already informing us with real events, their magnitude and devastative outcomes. Of course, you have heard in the news and have seen a couple or maybe more than about a month ago, the agony of losing more than 11,000 lives in the dear part of MENA region of Derna in Libya. That struck by surprise. And we offer our condolences to Libya and to the people of Libya. With this, we have also to remember that climate changes come to us with all levels of water challenges, which include water accessibility. And you all know that water accessibility is a basic and fundamental human right. The broader fulfillment of water security, the growing rate of depletion of non-renewable groundwater or highly stressed renewable groundwater resources in many basins, and most importantly, setting the right policy to ensure accessibility, security, and mitigation to depletion of groundwater. Unlike the rest of the world, the MENA region is already in challenge has been in challenge before even the recognition of climate change and the coming of the world together to understand, mitigate, and adapt to climate change. Water and its said challenges are rooted in the culture and history of the region, probably giving extra leverage to water management in that many of the national efforts are already in place, more than other regions or countries of the world where water challenges were not or have not been as obvious as they are today. It is true that we haven't been for some time adapting to climate change, but have been adapting to a similitude in the fact that we have a fast growth in demand due to population growth coupled with an aspiring growth in socio-economic sectors. To this effect, I wish to give you a rather difficult summary of the water sector in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and its efforts in facing its challenges in general, which became a rather resilient baseline for climate change adaptation as well as mitigation. Some basic facts about Saudi Arabia. The country is considered highly water scarce country. It receives around only 100 millimeter of rainfall per year. The area is around 2 million square kilometers. And just to approximate to some of our audience, this area is around 1/5 of the area of Europe and more than 3 times the size of the state of Texas, just an example. Population is highly sparse, scattered all over the country. Population centers distributed at highly spaced cities and towns and villages. In the water sector, we are planning water supply to more than 14,000 population settlements of all sizes. The current population stands close to 32 million and growing by about 2% annually, with a GDP the fastest growing of the G20 members as in 2022. There are hundreds of major wadis or valleys and thousands of tributaries and smaller drainage tributaries. 2/3 of the area is underlain by thickening aquifer systems of major and minor water potential. And these aquifers are mostly non-renewable, so they are being depleted at a rather rapid rate. 1/3 of the area of Saudi Arabia is covered with what we call, and this is a geological term, Arabian Shield. And the resources, the water resources in this 1/3, which is mostly in the western part of Saudi Arabia, are renewable, but they are not as much in terms of quantity as the sedimentary cover, and therefore it demands a careful management scheme. Despite these challenges, one of the key very early breakthroughs in the kingdom water management is highly rooted in the history of Saudi Arabia. First of all, the political will. Late King Abdul Aziz attracted international houses of experts to assess water resources at early stages of the kingdom foundation, and I'm talking about 1930s and 40s. Early scientific evaluation of potential of both renewable and non-renewable, conventional and non-conventional water resources. Early adaptation of the concept of supply mix. As you can imagine, groundwater is not always available to all settlement centers, and that we have to rely on non-conventional sources. And that started with 2 desalination plants as early as 1926. And also the construction of modern dam started as early as 1950s and 60s. These are the early signs of water management. And also added to that is the demand-tailored action with the first desalination machines fulfilling the demand of spiking population in Mecca. This rather early heritage founded by King Abdul Aziz paved the way for subsequent leaders and governments of the kingdom to work on developing an immense infrastructure, as well as creating water entities that fulfill the immediate needs of water. But until 2016, the water sector, as a result of evaluation after the creation or the launch of the Vision 2030, we found out that the water sector lacked efficiency, economic sustainability, it lacked integration between the components, lacked coherency, lacked proper planning, long-term planning and sectorial structure, and also the engagement of privatization to mobilize finance. With the launch of the National Water Strategy 2030 in 2018, and its 10 programs to bridge those gaps, which are extrapolated to environmental sustainability related to climate adaptation. And these are some of the programs. A new comprehensive water law that targets or objective is to conserve and manage water resources and sustain environmental and economic activities. Water resources management, adaptation of the concepts of integrated water resources management, and I think we are well into this concept and implementation. Water security and emergency response, and these are programs of the strategy. Research and development and innovation has one clear program in the strategy that resulted in several activities, and the Ministry of Environment, Water and Agriculture is among the first ministries to create a whole deputy ministry for research and development to address these challenges. A National Center for Water Research and Development, And there are also other six other programs related to restructuring of water desalination, water irrigation and reuse, privatization, water distribution, and water conveyance or transmission that resulted in the creation of several entities, company for transmission, company for distribution, an off-taker, company for engaging private sector, and water partnership, and an organization dedicated for irrigation that covers the whole Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and also water, treated wastewater reuse. So as a result of these programs and implementing them, I will just mention very quick some of the numbers, and I noticed that we have a large panel and several speakers. I will try to go very fast on these. We have developed, and these have occurred since 2016, a long-term supply-demand plan for the entire kingdom that goes to 2050. Each of the 14,250 population settlements, we have a plan. We know where the sources of the water or the water should come from. We know how to transmit the water, whether they are being served by the network or we are planning. So this plan covers the whole kingdom in an integrated fashion. Water production, urban supply nearly doubled since 2016, getting closer to 14 million cubic meter per day. Water transmission capacity increased by 100%, reaching more than 15 million cubic meter per day, and lifting water to elevations or heights up to 2,200 meters in the southwest of Saudi Arabia. Water strategic storage, which is a major part of the supply chain, increased by 100%, and we are targeting to have a 7-day of supply water that is really ready to distribute to each city and town. Nearly twofold increase in water reuse. A total number of 574 dams with a capacity of about 2.6 billion cubic meter of storage capacity, and in the planning of 1,000 more dams. Furthermore, use of high-tech and IR4 transformation overshadows the entire sector in terms of what we call smart water along the whole supply chain, in terms of production, monitoring, measuring, distribution, and invoicing and controlling. We have started tracking system for all drilling rigs. This is part of management of the demand. The actual installation started last week or 2 weeks ago. Well abstraction monitoring system, including groundwater abstraction metering, and this started last week, and we are targeting to install 10,000 meters on groundwater wells. This is part of the management, part of making sure that we are abstracting water within the water requirement, a digital water law implementation system, and infusing economic instruments into water resources management. And of course, it is understood that such water sector is of significant carbon footprint, but the sector is beyond its commitment already. The targets of mitigation, reaching a reduction of 34 million tons of carbon emissions by 2024 as compared to 2016. And this afternoon, His Excellency the Governor of SWCC, the Desalination Corporation, will talk about the efforts of the water sector in this specific task. In conclusion, as I mentioned earlier, this is a rather difficult summary, but I do trust that the Saudi model is not but only one of the success models in the water resources management in the MENA region. I am sure there are other success stories in other countries in the region. However, climate change has a regional and global dimensions, both in understanding and in concerted action. To this effect, I call upon members of the MENA region water governance bodies to establish concerted and well-measured water policies to affect rapid water-related climate adaptation plans, building on the wealth of profound country-specific plans to bring it into more integrity and coherence. Thank you very much. معلش طولنا على الوقت.
شكرا. Thanks very much, Your Excellency, Dr. Abdelaziz Al-Shibani, for this very enlightening presentation on water management in Saudi Arabia. So thank you again for that. Now we'll move directly to my colleague, Mr. Ziad Khayyat. He is coordinator for integrated water resources management for water security in the Arab region at ESCWA. So 7 minutes, Ziad, please, the floor is yours. So we expect you to elaborate on water resources management in the MENA region using your experience on IWRM and looking at groundwater management to strengthen water sector and again to link with climate change adaptation.
Thank you. Is this on? Yes? All right, excellent. Thank you, Tariq. It gives me great pleasure to be here with you, with the distinguished members of the panel, and following His Excellency Deputy Minister Shaybani. I think he laid out a lot of the points that I wanted to talk about on the region and the regional case, and highlighting a lot of examples from the kingdom that are useful to other parts of the region. So as you are all well aware, this is one of the most water scarce regions in the world. 19 out of the 22 countries in the region are considered water scarce. 90% of the population resides in these countries. There are several challenges that makes the challenge of water scarcity increase tenfold. And for example, 2/3 of the water resources are transboundary water resources where water crosses one or more border. This is a regional, another regional challenge. We've heard about reliance on non-renewable water resources, fossil aquifers, and this is another great challenge in the region. More than half of the countries in the region rely on groundwater, and this is increasing with climate change. With the variability in the availability of surface water, more and more countries are tapping into groundwater aquifers. And the trend is clear. We did an analysis since 2001 to 2019 using GRACE satellites. It was clear that the area in the Arab region going groundwater depletion has doubled in this less than 20 years. So this is clear, and more there will be more dependency on the strategic resource groundwater, which a lot of countries are using to adapt to climate change. In simulations and modeling of the impact of climate change on these aquifers, we've done simulations with AXAD in Iraq, simulations in Palestine, in Morocco, and it's clear that the groundwater level is declining due to 2 reasons. The variability in climate change and the decrease in precipitation is decreasing the amount of recharge to these aquifers. Plus, farmers are relying more and tapping more and more into these aquifers. So there's a lot more demand on these aquifers to meet the requirements of the agriculture sector. The agriculture sector is a very thirsty sector. It's the biggest user of water in the region. It uses almost up to 80% with low efficiency. So this is something that needs to be addressed when we're looking at water security. Finance is also another issue that's hindering the progress towards water security. The region is highly in debt. In 2020, the public debt reached 60% of GDP. So finance and financing water to achieve water security is a great concern in the region. And this afternoon, as His Deputy, His Excellency mentioned, there's an Arab Forum for mobilizing climate finance for the water sector. You're all invited to join in the Al-Ula room in Zone 5 that will be looking at finance and the importance of finance and accessing climate finance for the water sector. So the region and through the process of the Water Action Decade, which is a decade from 2018 to 2028 to accelerate progress towards the water-related goals, looked at how do we accelerate achieving water security and achieving these water-related goals. And in a regional meeting that we convened in Beirut in 2022, there were a set of accelerators that the member states looked at and considered their top priority. Of these, as I mentioned, financing water and specifically tapping into innovative financing and other sources of financing that Katrina, I think, will be looking at, was one of the top priorities. Other priorities was availing data and useful knowledge for policymakers. In this region, there's a lack of available data, and when the data is available, there's also has been a lack of access to that. So that was one of the top priorities to assist the policymakers in making these strategies and these policies was to avail this data. And examples of these regional platforms or data platforms, at ESCWA, we're hosting two of these. We're hosting the RICAR Knowledge Hub, which deals with the climate change data and projections till the end of the century. And also, we're hosting an Arab groundwater knowledge platform, and that's being populated in association with ACSAT, that will avail groundwater data to the region. His Excellency also alluded to innovation, and this is one of the priorities that has been talked about a lot in the region. And innovation, as His Excellency explained, is not only innovation in technologies. And there was, in the regional meeting, there was a call not for just any technology, but fit-for-purpose technology for the region, low-cost technology that's accessible to all. That was a very important point that was raised, and localizing this innovation in the region. Also, there was also a lot of call for the use of treated wastewater, benefiting from this resource. This is one of the only resources in the region that's increasing. With the increase of population, we will have increases wastewater. So this is an important pillar in the water security, making use of the safe use of the treated wastewater. And Jordan, and we have with us Secretary General Dr. Jihad Hamid. Jordan has been a pioneer in tapping into the reuse of this treated wastewater and technologies and involving the private sector in financing the use of treated wastewater. Also, innovation, as His Excellency also alluded to, does not need to be only on technologies. We're talking also innovation in managing this sector. And we see this innovation at the local level, and it needs to move up to the national level. We see great examples, for example, in Morocco, in the aquifer contracts at the local scale, where the stakeholder involvement of farmers and local leaders have the management, and that's an innovative approach to management. And that's also something that's been highly needed and highly said. Also, His Excellency alluded to that there are great examples in the region of success stories, and there is another need that was raised during the regional preparatory meeting of the need for this regional knowledge networks, where we have these examples at the local scale or at the national scale that are upscaled, and the League of Arab States has a great role in doing that, of upscaling these local examples, these national examples, and having this knowledge exchange at the regional scale. And also this calls also for the involvement and widening the stakeholders, involving the private sector. And the private sector has many advances in technologies, in finance, and it could be part of the management of the water sector for improving the efficiencies in that. How am I doing?
Yep.
Okay. So I'll wrap up with just the final maybe message is the water sector is not just water, it's climate adaptation, it's food security, it's economic and social benefits. So what's really needed within this water security approach is a coherence at the local, national, regional scale, coherence across sectors, policies, and again, when we talk about finance, coherence in finance, where the different agendas and the different sources of financing, there's coherence between them to maximize benefits in a region that's suffering from water scarcity, but a lot of systemic conditions that hinder achieving water security. Thank you.
Thanks, Ziad, very much, giving us regional perspective and what kind of effective measures for water innovation and linking to climate adaptation. Now let's move to country experience, and we have two experts from Iraq, Mr. Uday, and Mr. Bilal from Jordan. So let us know more. What are your current efforts to inform innovation and future planning to ensure water security in Iraq and Jordan? Mike, please. We'll start with Mr. Uday, Director of Climate Change Department, please.
Thank you, Dr. Tariq, for the invitation and for this opportunity to be here to talk about this very important issue. Please first let me showcase the situation of climate change in Iraq before you answer your question. The impact, the adverse impact of climate change is now known by all Iraqi people. The temperature is rising above 50, 55, continue for 13, 14 days per year, especially in July and August. On precipitation, the rainfall is decreasing significantly. Sometimes heavy rainfall in a little time happened lead to a flood, extreme event. Also, climate change has exacerbated the water scarcity crisis in Iraq. Now in my country, we are facing the water scarcity, severe water scarcity due to climate change on other elements, including there is no balanced, wise, united water management policy between upstream and downstream countries. In all MENA region, like European region, there is for example, Helsinki Convention manage water transboundaries. All these matters lead to the reduced agriculture production, loss of biodiversity, nature system, vegetation, and increasing sand and dust storm, frequently, severely, which happens 300 days in per year. Water scarcity, water security, food security. All these elements affected on the Iraqi economy, on the livelihood of Iraqi citizens. These were challenges that back to your question concerning opportunities, especially in water systems. The Ministry of Water Resources has a good national strategies, which it is integrated with other strategies related to using water. And these strategies, they're focused on 3 elements: groundwater, harvesting water, reducing water losses. On using groundwater, now we are benefiting from groundwater in sustainable manner, digging wells for irrigation purpose as well as domestic uses. Also, we are build many dams to collect the water and set up earthy barriers to retain water for birds, for wild animals. Concerning reducing water losses, now we are using pipelines to transfer water instead of streams, using modern, high efficiency irrigation methods and agriculture system. Also, the Ministry of Municipality focus on the issue related water system. There are two issues very important for the water system. Desalination. This is the first time we are building the big desalination in the south of Iraq. And also treatment waste water. We are building many facilities to treat water and recycle for irrigation, green vegetation. This is very important for the climate change, adaptation, and mitigation. Finally, the Ministry of Water Resources said that we must exploit every drop of water and benefit from it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Auday. It's very interesting to see that you are from Ministry of Environment, but you spoke about Ministry of Agriculture, Municipality, and Water Resources. So we can see how integrated the water strategy is within sector. So we thank you very much for that. Mr. Bilal, what about Jordan then?
Well, thank you very much for this event, and also I would like to extend my thanks to the presidency of the previous COP27 at Egypt, for theming the water within the COP themes, and it is themed also in the upcoming COP. The matter within water in Jordan, Jordan's already maybe the most or the second most scarcity water country in the world. So it's so important that we can work on the balance, creating the balance between the supply and demand. Since the supply that we do have it, we don't have it as much as the amount needed for the expanding population that we have. It was previously, let's say, between the 50s, it was about 3,600 cubic meter per capita per year. But since 2017, we are less than 100 cubic meter per capita per year, which is a way down of the threshold of water security. So within this matter, we do have a very comprehensive strategies for water in Jordan, and also within that we are trying to use, and we, as been said by Dr. Ziad, thank him. Jordan is the pioneer for the reuse of treated water in conditional agriculture for crops which is not even allowed to be used raw, with trees and things that it has to be cooked. This is something. The other thing is that we are in Jordan now thinking always within the nexus. We are not dealing with water as only a water. We are dealing within the nexus of water, energy, food. So within that we are trying also with any new project for water. As been said, we are trying to find some new sources for non-conventional water. So we are building now the national conveyor from Aqaba to Amman. This will have a desalination plant, and it will carry the water from Aqaba, from the Red Sea, to Amman and to other governorates, so that it can give them a proper amount of water to be within the standards. So within that, we are working to have it purely and totally to be on renewables. So within that, we are reducing the amount of the cost for the end user, and we are doing the adaptation within that. So it couldn't be a very expensive project that we can do it, and we are reducing the total bill of the Ministry of Water and Irrigation within its facilities, to be capable to do it in different areas and to do some capacities in other facilities, like the wastewater treatment plants and for the other issues. As been said by Dr. Jihad and by His Excellency and all of the colleagues, the most consumer in Jordan is the agricultural sector. Within agricultural sector, we've worked and we did what is called climate smart agriculture. So within climate smart agriculture, it's a new plan adopted by the government of Jordan, and within that we are developing lots of schemes in other entities. At the same time, we have maybe as for the ongoing projects, we've got project at the north, at the middle of Jordan and the south, which will have the new collections of new water, rooftop water harvesting systems. We've got also within those projects some field agricultural field schools to teach them the new methodologies with irrigation that would give you the good production and would consume the most less, or to minimize the consumption of water, and also the aquaponics which also gives a good production within the less consumption. Within that, I would like also to give the thanks of the innovations at the Ministry of Water and Irrigation in Jordan. They had a strategy for climate change during 2016. And they've renewed that and updated that last year. So we have an updated climate change water strategy in the country. And within that, we are paving the way for a comprehensive water management that can give a good balance between the supply, demand within the lowest cost of energy within renewables, and at the same time within the efficiency of that use. Well, as you know, and as RECAR system says, Jordan also using the underground water, which is which will something is not always renewable or recharged. The other matter within the water sources that we do have within climate change and the changes that happened, as been said by my colleague from Iraq, the temperature and the change of precipitation patterns. Precipitation patterns in Jordan is moving toward the east and south, which is also which will be also raining the fall of that rain, which will be on a new soil which is not absorb it doesn't have the capacity to absorb that water, and the pattern itself it becoming to be what used to be raining via 2 to 3 days, it became to rain via 1 hour or 2 hours, causing flash floods, and those flash floods is a real catastrophe sometimes, which give you the bad issues like soil erosions, and also it can damage the crops and damage the livelihoods. So within that, even Jordan is now trying to find or to map flash floods everywhere, and to do some small dams or redirecting the flash floods in a way in 2 ways. The first way, in order not to the rainfall not to be collected within those areas, to make that flash flood, or to have the collection of all those flash floods, raindrops, to be collected in a way that we can use it later. The most important that I can talk about the climate strategy for water, and talk about the new climate change policy, which is from 2022 until 2050 for the water sector, and the nexus of projects that we do have, that yani, the management, the well-designed projects which shows the status, the very well yani, components that yani, build each other, and which also shows the profitability for the ecosystem or the revenues that yani, could be done from those projects. It's all there, but yani, mostly the problematic issues that yani, to find the financial sources that can help the country to implement those yani, projects. So within that, we are trying to use the traditional sources, and also we are working with ESCWA for some debt swap yani, mechanisms, and also within some other mechanism from the funding agencies, with the GCF, Adaptation Fund, and the other international agencies that we can do it. Again, thank everybody, and I would like yani, also to reiterate what His Excellency said. We should have a regional panel, a regional platform that we share experiences with, and we know what can we do with the transboundary yani, water, aquifers, that we can make use for it for our countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bilal, especially with this final recommendation on having a regional panel and dialogue to change experience. We heard many activities that you are doing with the water strategy as well as the climate one. Thanks again for that. Now let's move to UNICEF and how water innovation is done in your organization, what kind of measures in WASH, in child policy. So please, Dr. Tariq, tell us.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, we hear you.
Can you hear me? Wonderful, yeah, thank you. So I have a few slides.
Yeah.
I can put them up.
Can we have the slides, please?
I can start in the meantime. So from the different conversations we had now, and thank you for organizers to having me here today, we can see how much the climate actually is impacting the different water resources. And today I will elaborate on how these impacts will affect vulnerable communities, and especially children. So my name is Tariq Hassan. I'm from the regional office of UNICEF in Amman. I'm a climate change specialist. I'll elaborate today mostly in terms of planning and how we can go from situations where communities are affected, and how we can actually have a more sustainable development. So perhaps you've all heard about the Sustainable Development Goals. There's one very specific on water, on clean water and sanitation. That is SDG 6. And well, UNICEF, we look very closely on safe drinking water, which is SDG 6.1 as a target, and also the sanitation, which is SDG 6.2. And if you can go to the next slide, please. When I talk about vulnerable communities, there's all different sorts of examples or types. I will just show here the typical example of a humanitarian WASH response. So WASH, that means water, sanitation, and hygiene. So typically, an increase of extreme, or frequency of extreme weather events, or increased water scarcity can push populations into displacement. This has consequences on this vulnerable community, especially children. If we think about aspects like disrupted education, or child labor, or early childhood marriage. The way forward here is to have a more sustainable framework, and I will look in terms of safe drinking water here today. If you can go to the next slide, it will be planning something which goes from something you can see on the screen to something that you see now, or even better, have something you can see on the screen now to prevent falling into an emergency response, which is much more difficult to manage and to deal with. So I'll go through 3 different options that UNICEF looks into. So first I'll talk about governance, then I'll talk about technical options, and finally I'll speak about youth engagement. The first one, governance. So UNICEF, of course, is present in all countries in the region, and we very much support the governments in strengthening what we call the enabling environment. So we look into aspects such as strategies or policies on one hand, also in terms of planning and monitoring, which is extremely important to know where we are, as well as financing to make sure that different programs, governmental programs, are actually financed. This actually allows to have intersectoral stakeholder approaches, as well as we're very keen on having early warning systems in place which can actually provide us information on, let's say, upcoming droughts, which can enable us to have the most appropriate emergency planning to prevent the very first situation that I've shown here. The second option that we have is technical options. You see quite a few here on the screen. We require not to have a climate-resilient approach, first of all, to have a climate-resilient water source, typically groundwater. This requires some sort of investigation, groundwater resource assessment. It takes time, funding, and specialized teams. In order to set up, let's say, a water operator, which itself needs teams in order to operate, it needs capacity building, it needs also financing, a sort of tarification system, so it's actually sustainable, especially within a changing climate. We also require some sort of risk management, what we call water safety plans in terms of water quality, so at the tap, the children can have the best water possible, so that in order to prevent the propagation of diseases or anything which will impact the health of children and adults. And finally, we also like to set up, UNICEF pushes to set up an independent regulator, so an independent authority which can actually is separate from the government or the water utility, can actually have an overview in terms of regulations or norms which actually is set up to distribute safe drinking water. The final point that I'd like to mention here today is that this also requires support from the youth and children. So UNICEF very much support that youth actually are on board in order to actually have an influence on the different governmental policies and strategies that I mentioned early on. On one hand, at country level, also at international level. We also favor the development of green skills for these children in order that they can actually make a difference in the private sector and in order to them to have a better future. I think with that, I'll move on to my last slide, which is a series of recommendations. So these are not technical recommendations, they're mostly policy recommendations. But UNICEF very much favor to have some sort of coherent system across the region, especially that targets children, so that this water systems distributions actually are climate resilient. Very much favor that. We also favor what we call a no-regret options, and by that I mean sometimes UNICEF pushes ahead systems that can withstand a drought, but that drought doesn't happen. So it still has to be a system which is still useful for the communities. So typically we can still provide safe drinking water to a number of villages or small towns, typically the area that UNICEF looks into. I mentioned early on the early warning systems. We believe that we should have the right data for the governments and for the communities. This is also true for early warning systems, but also true for groundwater monitoring. And then, as I mentioned, finally, my point about having children as youth as key stakeholders. Which should bring me actually to my very last slide, is that all this will actually bring us to the key point that UNICEF is pushing forward. On the last slide, please. Yes, is that, actually the one before that. Is that UNICEF is pushing that the child rights and for the human right access to safe drinking water and sanitation. And with that, I'd like to thank you.
Thank you, Tarek. It's very enlightening. Now, because of the time limitation, I can see we still have 4 speakers, 7 minutes each. But let's give 5 minutes now for discussion with you, so we can have 2, 3 questions. Can we have the light on to, or we? Yes, I can. Yes, please, one. No, okay, you second, please, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Angel. I'm a representative of a university in Spain. I would like to thank you for all the insights that you have provided, really enlightening. You have discussed briefly the importance of cooperation between countries to address water scarcity in a regional level, because we have water resources are within different boundaries. So I want to ask you, how can we promote interregional cooperation on water resources and water management in water-stressed regions, specifically in the Middle East and the MENA region? Thank you.
Okay. We can take a question and then one more.
Sure, yes. Okay. I am Jihad Al-Mahamid, Secretary General for the Ministry of Water and Irrigation in Jordan. As you know, the climate change doesn't know any border, doesn't mean, okay, we have isolated system. Most of our water is sharing, either, okay, by rain or by groundwater basin. What I want to say here, okay, we have to focus on non-conventional water resources. In Jordan, this is what Dr. Zayad mentioned, that we have maximized the treated wastewater. We use more than 90%. But in Jordan, okay, according to the climate change effect, we have already restructured the water sector in Jordan. We have created what we call it Innovation and Research Center, okay, at the Ministry of Water and Irrigation. Also, we have created new units dealing with the drought frequency. Also, we have a problem with drought frequency, as well as we have the flood management risk. We have already created specific sections to deal with the flood risk. We have also what I want to recommend, okay, during this event, we have, okay, to look about per capita. As you know now, per capita is calculated based on traditional water resources availability. That's why we have, okay, to introduce new expressions, okay, for per capita. From my experience, we have to recalculate per capita according to the available of water resources, not depends only on rainfall. Thank you.
Thank you. A last question, and then we will give answer. Please. Here. Okay, 2 questions. You and here. Okay, you, please. So we have 2. Quickly, please.
Shall I start?
Yes, please.
Ibrahim Koronfol من Dar al-Handasa. I'm also the vice chair of the technical advisory group at the USGBC. We are the green building regulations are going to decarbonization. We are introducing the carbon emissions of water in a new version of LEED. We're looking into the carbon emissions of the water, the kilowatt hour per meter cube. In the world, we do not have data still. Can we have, or can we get an answer from the water utilities in the region? If they can declare these numbers?
Raha Hakim-Navar from Georgetown University in Qatar. And my question is about the water reuse, particularly wastewater reuse, and if we can get some thoughts around ways of overcoming some of the barriers to broader adoption across the region of water reuse, and especially for agricultural sector.
Thank you. Let's take 2 minutes to answer. We have cooperation between countries, water utilities, water reuse. So please, if you can select one issue to talk about, and not all of you, but whoever wants to reply, please.
Yeah, may
Your
I start,
Excellency.
please? I will select the first question from the gentleman from Spain. as I understand, the question is that how or what is the mechanism of coordination and cooperation between the countries. In the Arab region, there is already a ministerial council, water ministerial council, and this is a good platform. This is they have an annual meeting, and it happens that their meeting this year is in Saudi Arabia. This is in November, and this ministerial council creates, promotes, and develops strategies and recommends and sharing best practices. I think this is one good platform, but we can think of other platforms as well. Those countries that are in the G20 also, they have other. We have something called Dialogue on Water that has been going for the 4th year in a row. And other. May I answer the last question?
Yeah, yes.
With respect to Saudi Arabia, some facts about the wastewater reuse. Right now, we are using more than 1.5 or close to 1.5 million cubic meter per day of treated wastewater. That is wastewater treated to the tertiary treatment. And in one project alone, this is in Al-Hasa, we are transporting or transmitting 400,000 cubic meter per day for 200 kilometers. And most of the agricultural activities in that region, in eastern province of Saudi Arabia, is some of the farmers have already closed or shut down their wells because they have seen a good service, good quality of water, and this is reliable. So we are expanding. We are in the implementation. We are in the design phase of many projects that will assure that, if not all, but most of the treated wastewater will be used. We are producing more than 5 million cubic meter per day today. That will get to around 10 or 11 million cubic meter per day by 2030. And as Ziad told us already, that this is almost the only source that is growing or that is increasing as population grows. So we have no other choice but to depend on it, rely on it as one major source of water. And we need to invest and develop the infrastructure because we are even using it for mining, for example, and transporting water for hundreds of kilometers. So, like Jordan, we are developing our infrastructure to utilize most of this resource.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have the issue of water utilities and access of information and data, and what kind of consumption, database, is it public? It's very critical thing. I guess it needs people from utility to answer. But anyone can comment on these figures? Well, because water resources is also drinking water and sanitation with utilities, sometimes under other ministries. So when we look at water plan, we need the water balance, the budget, in and out. So how we can deal with utilities on that? Please, Dr. Bilal.
Well, no, I just wanted to add for the third question about the reuse of water.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the reuse of water, as His Excellency said, for several issues that could be used, whether it was for mining, whether it was for streets, whether it was for building, for whatever. But the amount that is used for agriculture, we do have a memorandum of understanding between the Ministry of Water and Irrigation, the Ministry of Agriculture, so that all is monitored, which has to be very very monitored, the charge out water from those treatment plants, the quality of it, and also that to be used only for restricted kinds of crops, which usually it's trees, whether it was wild trees for streets or whether it was any kind of other trees, which the tree itself does, although it's a precaution for a precaution, but the tree itself also will filter the water before it goes in a raw matter to the customer. Thank you.
Thank you. Uday, half a minute. just final reflection on the questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Doctor, should ask my colleagues in the Ministry of Water Resources and then come back the answer for you. Let me please answer the question my colleague from Spain on coordination or cooperation. Believe me, if we have water transponder from Arab countries also, from Iran, Turkey, the state of occupied of Palestinian, Ethiopia. So this is the big problem. With the Arab countries, there is no problem. We are all brothers. We are all do what we can do for each other. But the problem with other countries outside of the Arab country, this is a big problem. And when we talk about cooperation, coordination, we don't have a good answer from them. We have many challenges to cooperate. Like European region, Helsinki Convention. Now Iraq is one of the parties joining this convention. But when you ask Turkey, Iran, the state of occupied of Palestinian, Ethiopia don't join this convention. So it is very important for us to talk about these countries to reach out to the wise water management policy among them. The answer or reuse. In my country, we are using water and just use it for the green vegetation. This is the rule of this is the law of environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ade. I guess we will leave it to you. We will have you to answer the coming questions. Okay, just a few seconds, please.
Am I on?
Yes.
Regarding the questions on the water utilities, so I would recommend reaching out to an association of water utilities in the Arab region called AQUA. I can put you in contact. I have a contact there. I suspect it will not be an easy task to get the data from the water utilities, but I'm willing to put you in contact. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thanks very much. Let's move to the other panel. I guess the time is... let's make it from 5 to 7 minutes, if you can. Ihab, please, what about water management based on ACSAD work?
Thank you very much. Yeah, just let me first give some aspect of our region. Unfortunately, I mean, 90% of our region is classified as arid and semi-arid region, and 70% of our region receive less than 100 millimeter. Actually, the water gap is projected to reach about 130 billion cubic meter by 2030. This huge amount of water. The per capita, about half of the Arab country, the annual per capita less than 200 cubic meter, which is much less than the poverty level. Actually, in Jordan and Palestine, it's about 70 only, 70 cubic meter. So on the top of this, I mean, the climate change came, and you know, I mean, RICAR output is very alarming. I mean, some country, the annual rainfall will reduce by more than 300 millimeter per year, like Morocco. Some in Mediterranean area, about 150 millimeter per year projected the decrease in rainfall. Increase in temperature by about 4 degrees is projected according to the worst case scenario, and more drought, more flood is projected, and all this will have impact on food security and agriculture. All this aspect make major challenge to implement sustainable goals, especially that relate to food and water security. And now, as ACSAD, we are regional organization. Our name is the Arab Center for the Dry and Arid Zone. So it's the main mission, I mean, to listen these challenges and overcome it. So, and ACSAD, within the framework of the Arab Water Ministerial Council, developed the Arab Water strategy in cooperation with other organizations and the action plan, and we work to follow up the implementation of this action plan. one of the major topic or measure we put the priority at ACSAD is improving irrigation efficiency. Why? The study we did at ACSAD in 13 Arab countries, which is mainly irrigated area, we found the water losses about 100 billion cubic meter per year. So why we go to other measure? Before we spend any money on other measure, we need to improve our irrigation efficiency. Of course, improving irrigation efficiency does not mean necessarily to switch to drip or sprinkler irrigation. There's much less costly matter. We found that improving the management of irrigation, this should give a priority. And now actually there is a lot of tools available for free, developed by FAO and other organizations, which could be used to improve irrigation management. Let me tell you this, we found in some country, they apply drip, they apply sprinkler with efficiency 30% because they don't have good management. So ACSAD put the priority, developed comprehensive study and put the procedure to improve irrigation efficiency. And we work with FAO to train and build capacity how to improve this irrigation. Second one, ACSAD. Ziad, I guess, mentioned that, and everybody knows that agriculture consumes more than 80%. So what ACSAD did? We need to work on consumption, reduce consumption of agriculture. So we developed a lot of variety, especially wheat variety, 87 wheat variety developed in ACSAD, which is drought tolerance, need less water, and we tested in all Arab countries, and many Arab countries adopted this variety. Not only wheat, barley, fruit tree. We encourage, have fruit tree like olive, almond, pistachio. This fruit tree which require a low amount of water. So this is the second one in our strategy. Third one, encourage implementation of rainwater harvesting. Maybe we'll say rainwater harvesting is old. Nothing new. Even in old. From our experience, the best solution to adopt for climate change in our region is rainwater harvesting, especially that store water for supplementary irrigation like hill lakes. From our experience, when we implement this, really, this helped farmers to adapt to climate change, increase water productivity, and reduce the burden on women who bring water from long distance. There is different variety, and there is innovation. Like the new offlining, how to locate this technique. We can use this new technology. The first one, I guess, what we mentioned, also my colleague mentioned about the groundwater, and really there is huge overuse of groundwater in our region, and ACSAD work on improving the management of groundwater by using mathematical modeling. Of course, through this method of management, we can assure safe yield of groundwater, the balance between recharge and the water use, and we ensure the sustainable use of groundwater. Also, we encourage the participatory approach of water management through encouragement of water user association. This is very important. We found from experience, through this association, we make better use of available water. We reduce the cost of maintenance of irrigation project, and we increase the return from our project. And there is a lot of examples in our region, in Tunisia, in Egypt, in Jordan, for this water user association. Finally, I guess we need to rework on rebuilding our institution, water institution, and to include the climate change in our future plan and strategy. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ihab. How about CAUS, Dr. Mohammed?
Yes.
Tell us about
Hello.
water management.
Okay. Hello, assalamu alaikum, and still good morning, everyone. So my name is Saqib, and I'm currently serving as a postdoctoral research fellow at King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, KAUST. And before that, formally, I'm from Pakistan, so I served in government of Pakistan as a manager, environment and public health engineering. So through that experience, I want to bring some things. First of all, I'm very thankful to the organizers, Ministry of Energy, UNFCCC, for organizing this event and calling us here. Recently, in last few years, the Times Higher Education has introduced a new type of impact-based university rankings. It's very different from the previous university rankings. And they measure the impact based on the sustainable development goals, that how much a university is contributing towards meeting these SDGs. And so it shows the significance of role of R&D institutes or universities in combating the climate challenges. And proudly, KAUST is generally first or in top 3 in the MENA region in several categories when it comes to impact-based rankings. So first, I would like to endorse some points which are already raised by the other speakers in this session and in the previous session since morning. First, yes, water, food, and energy is a nexus. You cannot count these entities as a single entity. There is no food security without water security, and there is no water security without energy security. And secondly, wastewater treatment and reuse is need of the time. It's the most reliable and affordable water supply you can have. And the good question which was raised from the attendees, yes, we have to work on the soft factor to bring the acceptability of treated wastewater reuse, which needs a lot of efforts. Because we can imagine in some countries, like Singapore, you know, they use their treated wastewater next day very happily. And the most expensive people in the world, the astronauts, they also use their own treated wastewater every other day. So just for motivation. And secondly, yes, rainwater harvesting is also a good option, and there are several engineering methods available for that as well, which can be adopted. And one very critical source of wastewater, which is called produced water, which is very specific in Saudi perspective, because produced water is the wastewater stream generated from the oil drilling activities. Because we push a lot of water to bring the oil up from these underground reservoirs. So technically, with every liter of oil which we extract from groundwater, 6 to 7 liters of produced water are also coming with us. And the salinity can go up to 100 grams per liter, 2.5 times to the salinity of Red Sea. So this is a wastewater stream which is generated in billions of gallons per year in Saudi, and it can be reused if treated, and it can meet the standards. For example, within the hydraulic fracturing. So coming back to the role of R&D, research and development, in water security, just you should be aware that every technology which is well proven in the market today was sometime at a R&D stage, maybe in laboratory, maybe with some individual. For example, reverse osmosis was invented somewhere in 1960s, and it was not popular or affordable until 1990s, because the membranes were very thick, and energy utilization was around 15 kilowatt hour per meter cube of treated water. So that was not affordable. And then this technique, with the developments in the material, new polymeric membranes, now 4 kilowatt hour per meter cube is generally the specific energy consumption of a RO system. And I think the saline water conversion corporation in Saudi, they go as low as 2.7 or 2.9 sometime. They don't tell the recipe though, it is straight secret. So this is all due to R&D because of process improvements and pre-treatment improvements. So R&D, if there was no R&D, RO would be still sticking somewhere on 15 kilowatt per meter cube, and we will not be using 350 liter per person per day good quality treated water in Saudi. So R&D is very critical, and you have to trust your scientists. So
Sorry,
next problem,
one
which
minute,
comes
please.
with
Sorry
brine.
to rush you. 1 minute.
Yes. Yeah, I'm finishing. So with brine is a problem because with RO we generate a lot of brine, and for that we are also developing some new technologies which are low pressure membrane technologies, because RO has a limitation of salinity limit of 70 grams per liter, and we are developing some low pressure technologies like forward osmosis and membrane distillation, which can go up to 150 gram per liter salinity and counter those kind of streams. So yeah, and recently, so the government has done a very good initiative, which is called RDIA, Research, Development and Innovation Authority, which is filling the gap between the university and academics and these research institutes and industry, and they are funding new ideas, especially the ideas which can be later on turned into products and make a value addition. Thank you.
Thank you. I have about 7 minutes left, or 7 to 10, so 3 to 5 minutes, both Raya and Katarina. Please, Raya, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. And definitely it's a pleasure to be with distinguished panelists and with Your Excellency. And I believe it's a great transition talking about an R&D company. So climate change is definitely water change. But before I dig deeper into the 3M collaborative pilot program on the net positive water impact, please allow me to take an overview. What is 3M? That will be a very important private multinational perspective towards water circularity. So we usually say that you are never more than 3 feet far from any 3M product or 3M technology. So you touch a 3M technology product every day. So we are a science-based, purpose-driven company. And within our huge reach, if I would say, leading with purpose is very important. And just to walk you through our strategic sustainability framework, and that will help maybe understand where our water falls within our framework. So we lead with science in 3 main pillars: science for circular, science for climate, and science for community. So we have early 2019 set a commitment around sustainability value. So we have announced our sustainability value commitment, and that came post COP24. Now, what does it mean? As a manufacturing company, every new product that enters our commercialization phase should have a sustainability attribute. So this sustainability might be in reusability or in circularity, or it might be from our responsible production, responsible sourcing. It might be a solution to an environmental or social problem. It might be also in water reduction, energy and waste, since we do it directly within our planets. So with this, it is definitely, it starts strong and collective commitment. So digging deeper towards water, as a signatory of the UN CEO mandate and the Water Resilience Coalition, 3M strategy aligns with the mandate and, or let's make it more focused, aligned with 6 core focus areas of this mandate and with the Water Resilience Coalition, driving on the goal 6 that the UNICEF has already mentioned around the importance of the water sanitation and availability. And we work collectively with the resilience, with the Water Resilience Coalition, to ensure water resilient world for communities, for companies, ecosystem, and the global economy. So how do we do this? Within our water circularity, and which is perfectly fits under the circular pillar, we work within the reduction of the water within our plants, and we have set goals for this. So you might see the importance of having your framework with your sustainability measurable goals that will help lead to more positive impact. So 2019, we have set our water reduction percent, which is 20% by the year 2025, and we have already on track as per our latest impact report. And also we set another goal for 2030 to reduce our water consumption by 25%. So when we talk about the water circularity, you will see that we have set another climate and water goal early 2021, investing $1 million within the greenhouse gas emissions, within the water savings, and yeah, I will end here, and within the energy savings.
Okay.
Please.
No, please wrap up.
So let me wrap up then. I will take you through technicalities maybe on a later stage, but maybe to leave you with a very important message, the need, or we need to keep in mind the importance of urgency, science, and collaboration. We need to act urgently, we need to be science-rooted, and the collaboration where this event is a great example of how we bring together thought leaders for better impact.
Thank you. Katharina,
Thank you so
how
much.
about finance in 2 minutes? Tell us the story, not
Yeah.
the presentation, sorry.
Okay.
Katharina.
Yeah,
she has a mic.
I do have a mic. Thank you very much. Thank you all for
2
your
minutes. Huh? Sorry, because
insightful intervention. And thank you to the audience for staying on. It's lunchtime, I know, so I'm trying to be quick. Before coming to the opportunities, just a very quick reminder of the challenges in the water sector. So water infrastructure is capital intensive, has long operating lifetimes. Water is often thought of as a public good, so it's really hard to establish clear revenue streams from water. And even if we do, water and associated benefits and services is often undervalued. There are governance challenges in the water sector. We've heard about this, and water is transboundary. So we need to take these considerations and characteristics of the water sector into account when we want to make implementation successful and sustainable. And this leads me to the opportunities for implementation. We need to take a holistic approach to water, climate, and development. We can no longer treat them in isolation or in silos. And there are two quick aspects I'd like to highlight here of this holistic approach. The first aspect is a little bit broader. It's mainstreaming climate and water international development planning. And this really spans the entire policy cycle. It goes from data and holistic analysis, science-based analysis to inform policymaking, to integrated planning, to inclusive regulatory, legal, and also institutional processes, to financing, to monitoring and evaluation, and finally also, and we've heard about this, the need for capacity building and sharing knowledge. The second aspect of taking a holistic approach and thus making implementation successful is taking a holistic approach to financing. In particular, mobilizing climate finance for the water sector can really be an opportunity for implementation. As we've heard, the water sector, water and climate change are very closely linked, the relationship going in both directions. But the potential of climate finance for the water sector at the moment doesn't seem to be really fully exploited. The share of water finance in overall climate finance is very small, and similarly, only a small share of official development assistance is going to the water sector. So, if you really want to use climate finance as an opportunity for implementation, we need to show a clear climate rationale of water projects and climate-proof investments in the water sector. And then climate finance can really offer a broad range of different instruments for financing and implementation in the water sector. There's public and climate and development finance, which can be used catalytically. There are dedicated climate funds, and then, of course, there's the private sector, which could and should come in. And if you want to learn more on this, just this very final note, We are having, and this has been mentioned before, the Arab Forum for Mobilizing Climate Finance for the Water Sector today at 2 p.m. in Al Ura Room, and I really invite you cordially to all join us to continue the discussion on this. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I really apologize for rushing you and Raya at the end. You didn't have the same time as others, but he wanted to have the place for other meetings. So I guess we all covered IWRM, and we work on water supply and demand management, surface and the groundwater, conjunctive use, institutional integration, means of implementation, finance, technology, innovation. So we covered all aspects of IWRM. I'm glad that we managed to really show the full picture of water management and innovation and how these could be connected to the climate change. Thank you again, Excellencies, speakers, panelists, the audience, and we apologize for running out of time and wish you have a good rest of the day. Thank you.